Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of ANOKHI Uncensored, airing for free on the world's #1 South Asian radio station, Ruckus Avenue Radio, on the iHeartRadio app. Just download the free app and search Ruckus Avenue Radio to make sure you don't miss a single episode, airing every Tuesday at 7 p.m. PST and 10 p.m. EST. You can also watch the episodes on the ANOKHI Media Facebook page and the Girn YouTube channel, so hop on over to both now so you can continue to get the insider scoop on insightful conversations with celebrities, change makers, innovators, and people with big stories who pull back the curtain and share things you cannot Google about. I'm your host, Girn, and I'm coming to you today with a very special episode focusing on the meteoric rise of one of America's foremost boutique public relations firms, servicing the South Asian community for no less than 15 years. Neerja Public Relations is a company based out of New York City, and Neerja PATEL is the visionary founder of this firm, whose remarkable achievements have earned her a well-earned place last year on the coveted 100 Women to Know in America list, curated by JP Morgan Chase. Neerja has seamlessly merged her passion for South Asian culture with her expertise in media and events, and has been the go-to publicist for the South Asian community, as mentioned off the top, for a staggering 15-year tenure. Born in India and currently residing in the greater New York area, her upbringing and cultural background have served to infuse her innovative client campaigns, where she masterfully blends traditional values with a contemporary flair. She is uniquely a company that resonates, and I say she because the founder herself is the brand. She resonates very well with multi-generational audiences, and that's her perfect secret sauce. She'll be sharing all of that with us shortly. But I want to share a little bit about her portfolio. It reads like a who's who of the entertainment and cultural landscape, boasting collaborations and having worked with esteemed clients such as A.R. Rahman, Lily Singh, Veer Das, Archana Kochhar, and Sunny Leone. She has also worked with multinational corporations like Lufthansa Airlines, Disney, and New York Fashion Week and South Asian New York Fashion Week, which also plays into her passion for fashion. Oh my gosh, is this woman incredible? And I have had the incredible pleasure of working with her throughout many of those years on many different projects. And now let's just bring her in. Neerja, I am so pleased that we are finally having this conversation after having worked with each other for so many years. Welcome and congratulations to an incredible 15 years in your PR firm.
Raj, thank you so much. I mean, that was such a wonderful introduction, and I am overwhelmed in so many ways. That was such a beautiful introduction and such a great summary of my journey. And B, to get to do this with you. We have worked together for so many years where you have supported my clients, and we've just been in partnership in so many different ways. And for us to talk about my journey with you, it feels very full circle. So thank you so much for having me.
Oh, sweetheart. I just, there's just so much I want to talk to you about, and we only have a certain amount of time. So I want to dive right in, and I want to kind of start because I want, people who don't know who you were before you became the person that you are today. I want to loop people back to some context. My experience when you and I first met was when you were in the TV space. You were hosting shows, you were reporting, and you were kind of the girl about town. Can we go back there so people actually understand that there's a lot of experience and understanding of working with media on the other side before you started working with media on this side? Share a little bit about that journey.
So I was with Sahara TV. I always knew that I wanted to do something in the South Asian space. And when I first moved to New York, I was working the corporate life and kind of doing some things freelance here and there because the freelance things here and there didn't pay the bills. And then finally, when I got married, had some more support, I joined a television station and I did marketing and PR for them full time. Then they brought me on board to host a show, and I was going on shoots evenings and weekends, which I loved. I loved the whole life. Getting to meet and interview a ton of wonderful celebrities and go to these great events and really kind of capture the whole ethos of the events. And then I had my son and realized that that whole lifestyle was not very conducive to a working mom. And so I quit the TV world altogether to be a stay-home mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that that was it, that I didn't know what my next chapter was going to be. Eventually, it would be something. And so PR was somewhat of an accidental career. I have a friend named Manish Dayal, who right now he's in The Walking Dead. He was in The Resident. And back then, 15 years ago, there were not a lot of South Asians in the mainstream TV shows. And he had landed his role as Raj on the reboot of 90210. And so he called me and he's like, so excited. Neerja, I landed this role in 90210, and can you help me spread the word? And I was like, Manish, I've never written a press release in my life. And so I didn't know what to do. And so we kind of came up with it together. And I sent it to some contacts that I had made through the television channel that I was with, and everybody picked it up. And that was sort of the start. He was obviously so grateful. And media on the other end was very grateful because they were just getting news straight from India. It was all either Bollywood or politics and, this and that. And they weren't really getting stories about the South Asians here, especially the younger generation. So then they'd reach out like, what else do you have? I was like, well, I don't have anything else. But then Manish sort of like told other people about me that were doing interesting work. And that's just how it all got started. And it was kind of an easy thing to do being home, with my son. But I have to say, the Indian media was so supportive.
Mm-hmm.
And, while a lot of things have changed with them and with me and, the outreach that we do now, but I will never forget how much they supported me and really kind of helped this company grow and share what my vision was at that time.
Absolutely. And you've worked, Neerja, with, a number of, incredible people. And I want to talk about that momentarily. But the thing that I want to kind of preface that with is you've also, on a number of occasions, worked on many different types of projects. And I feel it's the experience of all of those that makes your, offerings out there really a standalone offer. Usually when you go to PR firms, they will, handle your press, they'll handle you at, events, but you also host events, and there's so many other things. You also are a connector. Let's talk a little bit about these elements of Neerja PR, which I know has kind of come from this innate thing that I know about you because I've worked with you, over the years, and you're so meticulous and you're so specific, and it's so important that you get it right. These value arcs of your, your DNA, your personality, I feel have really fed into making Neerja PR the unique, opportunity boutique enterprise that it is. Let's talk a little bit about that, because, you've been, as mentioned off the top, you've been on the, media side, and you've been on the PR side, but you've also done events. You've also hosted, networking opportunities for people. There's so much more than PR that makes your company unique. Let's talk about some of that.
I always wanted to make the company very a la carte in terms of how can I help you get to your vision, And so when a lot of people come to me and they're like, do you have a rate packet, or do you have this? And no, I don't, because I work for myself, which I love. So I can take on as many projects as I want. And so I only take on the number that I know I can deliver.
Yeah.
I'm in, a very blissful place where I have more work than I need that I can take, but I want to give it my all to all of them, because what I always say is, if you look good, then I look good.
Yes.
And so, every time, I'm like, I have enough, then I ask clients to wait and some will wait. And they want me, right? So I have had an opportunity to have the company grow, maybe get an office, hire people, but people want me, and I love that. I appreciate that they connect with me. And so if I say, let me hand you off to someone else, and everyone freaks out, like, wait, are you not working on this project? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm still there, I'm fully there. But yeah, it's, everybody has different needs. There's small businesses, there's corporations, there's artists, and not everybody is looking for the same thing. So, let's talk about what it is that your company needs, and let's do that. So are you a new founder and do you want to meet other founders? So then let's do a dinner and get the right people in the room. So every invitation is with intention of you being able to take these 20 conversations forward and help grow your business in the way that you need. Are you an artist? Do you want to connect with talent agents and managers and booking agents and all of those? I'm not a gatekeeper. I don't like when people gatekeep. I know how that makes me feel, and I never want to make someone feel that way. If I'm in a position where I can introduce you to someone that can benefit you, I will.
And you always have. I've had,
I
I
always
can attest
have.
to that. I can attest to that. I'm like, oh my God, I need a connection to this person. I call you up, I send you a WhatsApp, and it's like it's done. And I love that about you, sweetheart, because it is more than work for you. It's a mission.
It's a mission. You're right. And that's exactly what it is. I didn't start this company to be like, I'm trying to make an X amount of money in this paycheck. It was like, I want our community to be seen and heard, and I will do what it takes. And when there are people that are doing similar things, let me support you. You're building brands for our community. You're going out there and, acting, singing, modeling, whatever, and putting a brown face out there. Let me support you. So you're right. It is a mission. It's a mission. And I have spent a lot of time networking. So I can make those phone calls and I can connect people and I can help them. And I can help them. If I can help them grow, I will.
Absolutely. And you do. There's countless examples of that. And we'll talk a little bit about that as we move along. But before we get into that, Neerja, I want to ask you this because I'm so curious. How do you pick your clients? Like, what's the criteria where like this person is right for me to work with or this person isn't? Is it a personality thing? Is it a passion for the industry they're in? Is it a logistical decision? Or is it all of the above? Like, share that a little bit with everyone that's watching, listening, or
That
reading
is
this.
a great question. And I would say, have done a lot of trial and error too with a lot of brands. One of the biggest thing is what is it that you are selling? Is it yourself? Is it a product? Is it a movie? I used to take on brands that had one or two SKUs. I don't do that anymore because there's just not a whole lot you can do with it. And then I've seen companies shut down. So right now, a lot of it is like, do you have enough for us to do work with, right? For us to work with 10 to 12 SKUs, whatever, if it's a skincare line, a beauty line, clothing line, whatever. So, and then the second thing is all of your stuff set up on the back end. So many people want to do PR so early, and it's a wasted effort, right? If you don't have a website, if you're not set up for sales, if your movie is not out for 2 months, what are we doing all of this for? Because it's going to direct everyone. We need to direct everyone to something. And when you're not ready, then all of this is a failed effort. It's a waste of my time, waste of your time. It's a waste of money. So two of those big things is, are you set up on the back end, and is there enough to do PR? And then the other thing is, I have to love it.
Yes.
That's my biggest thing. Am I going to eat this? Am I going to wear this? Am I going to use this? Will I listen to your music? Is this movie something I believe in? So I'm very much like, I want to put my heart into it, and I'm not going to basically sell or promote something that I wouldn't use myself.
I love that you shared that because, when you listen to a lot of people who are exceptional salespeople, because you said the word, selling, the greater sellers, the ones that are really successful, truly believe in what they're selling. It's not a job, right? It's a mission. It's a passion. It's a belief system. right? And the byproduct is that they accomplish the sale, right? That's the
Right.
byproduct, right? And you lead with that, which is something I love. What kinds of people or companies would you absolutely not work with? I'd love to know that.
What kind of companies would I absolutely not? To be honest, what I've really separated myself from
Yeah,
are big events that just like the big melas, like the big bridal expos, the big Holi and Diwali melas in Times Square. And it's just, I realized I like to curate very boutique events.
yes,
I like to do things that are a little bit more elevated.
yeah,
And I feel like things like that just have events like that, branding, strategy like that just has more purpose.
yes,
Um, so I get a lot of these type of inquiries like, hey, we're doing this pageant and things like that. They're not for me. They're not my brand. It's not
yeah,
something I would attend. I'm not into the whole um, pageantry things. I think most of it is the whole big crowd stuff. It's
yeah.
not, that's not what I really enjoy anymore. I love the galas. I love the fundraisers, these small founders dinners, things like that. Those are definitely where I'm much more passionate.
Absolutely. And, it goes back to what you said earlier on, Nirja, is people like to work with you. And you are a very high touch, in the thicker things type of personality. Like you really do curate things yourself. And with that, when you look at these huge events, they need so many peoples and logistics and stuff. And then it just becomes a whole other ball game, which is not what you're about, because that's not what your brand stands for, which you just said. And it just leads me to ask you the question, what does your brand stand for? Let's share that a little bit. What is the Nirja public relations brand? I feel like you've already said it all, but let's see if we can encapsulate it for everyone.
I think it's about amplifying our South Asian voices. I think that's what the
Mhm.
brand is about. The brand is about um, community. And I said that, in another interview I did, that we don't chase celebrity, we build community.
Ah, I love that. What a great tagline. Is that on your website, girlfriend?
No, but I was thinking I should do that because
You
somebody
you
was like, "Oh,
must
that's
do it.
beautiful," and I was like,
You must do it.
you
You should
know,
trademark it. I love it.
that we don't chase celebrity, we build community. That had just come out, but I realized that is what it is. It's about, building our community, connecting our community to one another, because I also see that there is a lot of divide, which I don't
Yes.
like, right? How are we
Yes.
going to show ourselves as this big united community that's here to stay and to make noise if we have, internal issues? So I think that's, people need to work on that a little bit.
No, I totally agree with you, sweetheart. And that's what, we're about here at Anoki as well. It's always been about how do we celebrate, showcase, spotlight, create support around the things that we're doing in our community that can value the community, but also society at large, right? And a lot of what you do speaks to that. I want to ask you, for anyone that is listening to this and they feel that you would be the perfect fit for them, how can they apply to work with you? Do you have a process? Is there somewhere we can send them?
They can email me. They can go through my Instagram. I am very approachable.
Yes, I know
And a
you
lot
are.
of people say that they're like, "Oh, thank you. I didn't think you would write back," or "I've been waiting." I'm like, it's not that deep. I'm very accessible. I don't like to be that person that doesn't write back, because as a publicist, you will always realize how much rejection you get, how many emails go unread because you're just pitching and pitching and pitching. And so when I know how things make me feel, I want to make sure I never make someone else feel that way.
Mhm.
And so whenever I have emails in my inbox, and it's even something I know that I'm not going to do, I still want to take time to write back to them that,
Yeah.
I appreciate you reaching out, but either we're at capacity right now, or this is not something that, really fits our brand. Um, Very accessible. So find me on Instagram, and my email's on my Instagram. I have a form on my website, which we get a lot of inquiries through. So,
Yeah.
and they will be answered by me.
Absolutely. And I want to ask you also, do you only work with people in North America, or you have international, companies that you work with? I know when it comes to fashion, and celebrity that, you're very international, but what about other types of industries, just in case anyone is wanting to contact you?
Yes, for sure. I mean, we have done projects with brands in Canada, and we've definitely, really building a lot more work from India. We have had fashion clients, like you said, have worked with celebrities. Bile Single was just here, and we did an activation for her. But yes, I mean, if there are brands from India or anywhere that are looking to really, build their network in the US, definitely. Definitely.
Absolutely. So let's just pull back the curtain a little bit further here, Neerja, in regards to some of the things that you actually do with your clients. So obviously there's the PR piece. There's the piece where you get them press, right? Then there is the networking opportunity, getting your clients in front of people that they ordinarily wouldn't have access to. So you do these curated dinners, etc. You just talked about activations. Can we maybe touch base a little bit on that? Because that's a piece I feel that we haven't yet talked about. Give us some examples of maybe the clients that you've done activations that aren't the dinner type ones, so people can kind of see the breadth of some of the things that you do.
Yeah, so a couple of really cool projects that we just did. I have a client named Simran Kaur from New Zealand, and she has this fabulous podcast and a book, number one book in investing learning, called Girls That Invest. So when she came to the US, when she came to New York, one of the things we did was a partnership with Shopify, where she taught like a masterclass, like a 101 on investing, and people could come and learn from her, and it was this great activation. Shopify loved it because they always want to do these sort of educational component for their community. So that's where she really got to dive into her book, a little bit from her podcast, all of that stuff. So that was great. And then we also did a partnership with Google, where she did a talks with Google, and she was interviewed by one of the by Shilpa Maniar, who's at Google, and she's fantastic. And that was talking about Girls That Invest, and that was for Google employees that were live, as well as live online, that went to, I don't even know, 20,000 Google employees. So she really got to, really talk about Girls That Invest in the US. The other one, like I just mentioned, was Payal Singhal, who was just here from India. And Payal just did a collaboration with a tech-enabled shoe company called End State. And so we did a little collaboration launch party here, where people could come try on the shoe. You kind of scan it from your phone, and all of these cool like activations show up on your phone, these exclusive like offers. And so the shoes were on display. We did a little conversation about the future of fashion and technology.
Wow.
So that was really fun. And so, we can send a press release out, and we did, we got this great story in Forbes. But it was really like, can I see the shoe? Can I try on the shoe? And I want to know how this shoe works, because it's tech enabled, right? There's a chip in there. What does that do? How do I use it? So that was really a hands-on event. That was really fun.
Oh my God, I love that. And let's talk a little bit about your now that we're talking about clients, let's talk a little bit about your celebrity roster. You have worked with so many over the years, whether it's been, when you were on the TV side versus working with them on the PR and event side. What experiences with certain clients kind of, stand out for you? Like share something that pops out to you. I'd love
Um,
people to know a little bit, because I mean, you've worked with so many people, babe, over the years.
I've worked with so many, and they've all been, I don't have one bad story. I feel like I've been blessed with good celebrities that are very You know, the newer they are, the more attitude they have, the more
Yes.
established they are, the kinder they are.
I'm so glad you shared that because I have the exact same experience that when, when we've done our award shows or our events and we've invited people, the big, like the A-list people have been exceptional. That, this is what I need, right? We make sure that it's handled and they are happy. But as you go down to the B's and the C's and the D's, the egos get larger and larger and larger,
Yes,
right?
we have seen that. We have
Yes.
definitely seen that.
Yes.
There's a time many, many years ago, I guess it was 15 years ago, because I was pregnant with my son then. And I was doing interviews. This was on the TV side. And it was for the Unforgettable tour. And it was the Bachchans
Yeah.
and it was Madhuri
Yeah.
and whatnot. And you know, at that time, there were not a lot of pregnant journalists. And I wasn't just pregnant, I was like massively pregnant.
Yeah.
And it was in a hotel. And then I was like, oh, where do I go next? And they're like, oh, you can go in here. And I had no idea who was in there. And I opened the door and it's Amitabh Bachchan. And he's just sitting there in a conference room and it's me and him. And I have seen a lot of celebrities. Even by then, I'd interviewed everybody from, you know, Anil Kapoor and Deepika and Hrithik and all them. And I was like, and I get starstruck, but when I walked in that room, I felt like God had descended.
Yeah.
And I was like, what can I ask this man that he hasn't
Yeah.
been asked a million times? And he was so kind. He was like, you need to sit down because, you know, you saw how big, and he wanted to make sure that the cameraman, everything had a bottle of water. Like he was so humble, and just all of that setup just really relaxed me. And so I think it's more how nervous I was versus how he made me feel was just incredible. You know, and again, it's like,
Yeah.
who's bigger than him?
Who is bigger than him? You know, it's interesting because I was also at the press conference at that hotel. And
this is many years back, right? Yeah.
This is going back so far. This is when, ANOKHI was a print magazine. And I remember having the magazine in the first few VIP rows. I remember watching that concert because now you're bringing me back. I remember watching that concert and they had like so many A-listers there, like
So many.
Ashwarya,
That was
everyone was there,
crazy.
right?
Yeah.
People were screaming so loud it was just like I was getting a headache. But when Madhuri came on, do you remember that when Madhuri came on, it was so loud, it was unbelievable, the brand that she was. And this was when she had the hiatus of having her kids, and she just literally just made an appearance. It wasn't the 2.0 version of her that we see today. She had been away for a long time.
Yeah.
And that just, was a testament to truly how much she had accomplished. So you're talking about Amitabh and the Madhuris of this world. They still, for me, stand out as being the ones that
they have so much grace and humility. And
is that what it is?
Yeah. I mean, you don't see that as much anymore. I have a picture in my office where during that same tour, she took a picture with her hand on my belly. And so I was like, but I always tell my son Arjun, I was just like, you've been blessed by Madhuri. Like she was so interested in my pregnancy, like how I was feeling, like if it was a boy or a girl. And when I was due, I was like, we're here to talk about you,
I love that.
But yeah, there are some great memories with the celebrities that, it's always the fun, it's always fun. It's always
absolutely
fun. Fashion designers are hard. They're always stressed.
Yeah.
Fashion designers are always like backstage stress, which I get. So those moments are always more fun when you're not working. But fashion shows are very, very high stress.
Absolutely. But you've done like so many of those as well. Like I mentioned off the top, you worked with Archana Kochhar, Sunny Leone's very first New York fashion appearance. And she was like amazed at, the way that you handled her. I remember I had an interview afterwards in New York after that show. And she said like, I wasn't expecting this level of curation. So, I don't know if I ever shared that with you, but I'm sharing it now.
Thank you.
But this is what I love about you, Neerja. And this is why I wanted to chat with you, because you truly are in a class of your own. And you know me, over the years, I've worked with everyone. You truly are in a class of your own because you actually really, really do care about the product. And then the financial side of things is like a byproduct for you. I do feel that always with you, that, your reputation, your brand, value system is a huge part of what resonates with the kinds of clients that you bring to the table. Like, have people shared that with you? Because I've really
People
seen
have
that being a
shared that with
big,
me.
big thing about you.
People have shared that with me, and it's so kind. When we announced our 15-year anniversary, the messages that I've gotten, and sometimes like I'm just in awe of what my image in the community is and how much people value that, and the number of like, you're such an inspiration, which it's really kind. And I save all of it and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But, sometimes when you have down days, it's always nice to come back to that and be like, you've made a difference. You're making a difference in the lives of our, people in our community. So
It's your
it's
contribution,
very
babe.
special.
Yeah, it's your contribution, right? It's your contribution to your community. It's your contribution to the next generation. And this is the other thing that I find so interesting about, your journey, is that you started right at the beginning of when people weren't really taking our community seriously, right? If you weren't Bollywood, no one cared about the story, right? And
Right.
now you're sitting at the precipice of where a massive renaissance, we're deep in a massive renaissance, and where will that take us next? I love your perspective on, the scope of how you see things have changed for our community here in North America.
I think it's amazing. I think we have, I want to say we have arrived, but there's always more work to be done. But I remember when, one of my biggest challenges when I started out is there was nobody in these mainstream publications and morning shows and podcasts to be pitching to that would understand our story. Right. So as a community, we have worked hard where the community is being seen. And B, we now have people in these positions that I can pitch to that understand the value of our community and how some things are so important. It's important to showcase that there is a, kids book company. They have all of these books and now they're adding a book about Diwali, right?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
They have books on racism and sexuality and being bullied and all of this. And now they're adding a book on Diwali. Like, that is huge. And so I can, 15 years ago, I would pitch it to some, non-Indian male name and they didn't pay attention. Now there are people, editors at, Teen Vogue and Marie Claire and Business Insight, all of these people that I'm like, let me find that Indian because they're going to know how important that is.
Yes.
And so, like, our community has made a difference. And then the people that are in these positions as a publicist have made life a lot easier where you're sending it to someone that understands that value.
Absolutely.
And so we have come a long way in 15 years. So I was like, I'm never going to get anywhere and I'm going to stop because especially during COVID, so many of the Indian publications closed shops, right? Or they're doing a direct feed from India. And so I'm like, well, where am I going to go with this? And then all of a sudden, you start seeing people in these positions and these writers. I'm like, wow, they're going to be the game changers.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because, what shut down during COVID opened up a massive opportunity online for our community to be able to talk about who we are, talk about our experiences, talk about our expertise. And all of a sudden, this huge mushroom effect happened within our community,
Yes.
right?
For sure.
And that's what we're living through today. And it's interesting because you and I mean, it's literally from our generation. I mean, you're younger than me, but from our generation-ish to our kids' generation, what a massive difference in the fact that we never saw ourselves and they see us everywhere. Just in one generation, sweetheart.
Right. Yeah. And it's amazing because at this point I was like, oh, I know everybody, right? I know all of these South Asian actors and in the space, like whether I know them personally or not, I know of them, right? The Never Have I Ever and India Matchmaking and Bridgerton and all of these people, right? And then my daughter, teens on TikTok, Mom, do you know so and so? I'm like, no. So I'm like, this is amazing. There's more, like, they just, they're all in these shows and movies. I'm like, this is just amazing how much opportunity there is. And, again, Avantika and Mean Girls, like, you're not even playing Indian characters anymore. This is
No.
amazing.
Yeah. Like, oh my God, that's the big thing, right? What do you feel? Because that was the big thing that, when we started in the game, right? It was like we were trying to legitimize our brownness.
Oh yeah,
And
we were
now,
taxi drivers and bodega
yeah.
owners and just, the most annoying, I mean, not annoying, but the most stereotypical portrayals of what people thought was our community.
And that wasn't even a community. It was
No.
a faction of our community. It was a small component of our community. With everything that's been accomplished within our community, you've had access with a lot of change makers, a lot of thought leaders, a lot of people that have made or decision makers in how things are going to move forward with our community in many different industries, right?
Right.
Um, from that experience with them and how they think, how do you feel our world could change for the better for South Asians? Or how do
Um,
you hope that that change could be for us?
I, I hope that they will continue to pass the ladder down. I hope that they continue to help the next generation. Um, we didn't have that help, right? We built all of this. This is what we're talking about, this fight that we've had to push through, and our kids don't. And so all of these change makers that are out there that have had this privilege to sort of push through and establish, well, let's bring the rest of the community up with us. And
Yes.
I think that that's really important. As we talked about gatekeeping, like, let's not gatekeep, let's be leaders, let's be mentors. Because at a certain point, the next generation is what's going to take this forward and what's going to make this bigger.
Absolutely. And we want to make sure that they understand context on where all this came from. It's
Right.
one generation apart from us not being seen to us dominating every single industry on the planet today.
Right.
That's what I see.
I know. I mean, every other, week you're like, oh, so and so is the CEO of this. I'm like, this is fantastic.
It really is.
It really is. I mean, back then I feel like we always were just like, oh my God, there's Sundar and there's Inder Nui, and there were a few, but now it's, Anish Milani, Louis Vuitton. I mean, there's so many amazing men and women sitting in these positions um to give our community a better name than the taxi drivers and the 7-Eleven owners.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I want to ask you this because I feel it's really, really fundamental to understanding how nuanced our stories are as women in our community. As a wife and a mother, you've already kind of touched on this a little bit. For all of the wives and mothers out there who want to start their own business, but fear whether they can balance their personal responsibilities, which are important to us in our culture, with the time and commitment a new business will take to launch, to nurture. What advice do you have that you can share from your experience of being all of those things?
I've been very fortunate to have an incredibly supportive husband. And I don't know how I would have done it without him, but I'm not afraid to ask for help. And I think that's where a lot of people are, no, I can do it, or they feel failure if, they have to order in or get a nanny or something like that. Well, you can't do everything. And so I think it's really important to make sure that you ask for help when you need it. I have a fantastic support system. Again, my husband, I've had nannies when the kids were little. My in-laws help a lot. And so I think things like that are really, really important.
I think that you've said something really, really important that I want everyone out there who, especially women who are in these kind of multi avatar roles, trying to figure out how to balance it all, not getting mom guilt, which is a huge thing in
Not
our
getting
culture.
mom
It's a
guilt.
huge thing with
Yes.
moms, but it's like times 10 when it comes to cultures like
Mm-hmm.
ours, right? You know, I really do feel that being able to combat that, I've learned that from my experience the hard way. And maybe you have, maybe you guys have friends out there who have. um Talk about it. Like, go talk to your mom and your mother-in-law and your sister and the aunt. Talk about this, normalize the discussions around us having the right to do it all. We can't do it
Right.
all at the same time, but we can do it all. Right, Neerja?
Right. We can. And there is, you know, my kids are teenagers now, so they're a lot more self-sufficient, right? And so I can, do a lot more evenings and take work on that at that time. Now, like, be able to travel out of state. But when they were little, I couldn't do those things, but I did other things.
Yeah.
Right. So I am doing it all. I'm just doing it at different phases in my life, according to different phases in my kids' life. So,
Oh, I love that. I love that you shared that. There's such a beautiful parallel there that I
right.
hope people hear. And I feel that's how you get to do it all, is you just need to know when the right time is to do what, right? And that's what
Exactly.
you've done.
And what's hard is that because it's hard in the beginning, it's not easy, right?
Yeah.
Even if you have help, it's not easy. You can't control your guilt, but pushing through all of that and being like, eventually they're going to get older. They're going to understand that mom is also working. And so, but a lot of people quit during that time because the guilt takes over or they're
Yeah.
not able, so you really have it really pushing through that and then being like that, there is that light at the end of the tunnel and you'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about that light for you. We've got a few months left in 2024. I have no idea where this year went. I feel like
Oh my
it was
God.
just January.
It was just January, and even this summer, my husband and I were like, how is it gonna be September in 2 weeks? Where does the summer go? Like,
I
it's,
agree with you,
yeah,
sweetheart.
time is just flying. We're all so big. Because you know what the thing is in this world that we're in, Raj, and I'm sure you're doing it too. I'm planning Diwali, right? I'm planning Diwali events, Diwali strategies, like in July. And so it
Yeah.
just keeps fast forwarding me. Right. I'm like, can I enjoy my summer? Because we're already talking about fall. We're already talking about Diwali and holiday campaigns. And
Oh
so
my
it just
gosh.
mentally just rushes you.
Absolutely. And that's the world of media and PR, right? You're always
Exactly.
a season
Months
ahead.
ahead. Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about the rest of your year. Let's talk a little bit about, getting into 2025. What's going on with you? Let's share a little bit of that.
Have some exciting projects. There's one that I'm working on that I cannot share.
Okay.
That it's, planning Diwali for a big luxury brand. So I'm very excited
Ooh.
about that one. Of course, we have our own celebration that is coming up. So just lots of great things right now around Diwali.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I felt a lot of burnout after Diwali and continued through the holidays. And I actually ended up taking all of January off because I just needed a
Okay.
reset.
Yeah.
But this year, I don't want to get to that point in December where I am doing an event for a client and I'm just like, I'm over it. Right.
Yeah.
That's not me and that's not fair. So I'm trying to have Diwali sort of be the wrap up of the end of my year. We do have
Okay.
an event in December. So to kind of just not take time off because I have all these other things to do, but I don't want to feel that burnout that I did last year because Diwali has become a marathon,
Yes. Yes.
Um, but a big shift in my business that I'm doing this year and I want to continue doing is a little bit less small business. And I feel bad saying that because I feel like the small business founders are the ones that need me the most.
Mm-hmm.
But to get a little bit out of the small business space, not giving it up entirely, and do a lot more corporate stuff in helping them plan campaigns and things for the South Asian community that are more meaningful.
Right.
Right. We've been doing a lot of work with Shopify in terms of bringing South Asian brands on board. So really helping them build, their visibility in this community. Helping a lot of different corporates do Diwali even for their employees. That's more than
Yeah.
just ordering Indian food and checking the box.
Yes.
Right? Like there's a lot more to the holiday, a lot more to the community. So how do we make it more meaningful? And so I think work like that I really enjoy because we're really tapping into the community that doesn't know us and giving them that education and that background about how does our culture work? What do our festivals mean? What do our people want? And I really like that. I'm really enjoying that.
Absolutely. I know this is something that goes against, how you've been doing things, but perhaps now might be a good time to train a junior to do
I
so you don't have to give up, those passion projects, right? Because I do agree with you that our community is sitting in a place right now where they need people like you who truly understand the nuances of our culture and how we can create a larger impact in our mainstream society, right? You do need to be there. And I know that the passions of, the smaller business is important to you as well. Like you said, they need you. So I think that maybe you might want to train someone
I
to
did.
be a mini you.
I did.
You did?
I don't want them to be mini me's, but I do want them, they're great at what they do, but I've hired two wonderful assistants and they are doing a great job helping support a lot of projects. I think a
Thank
lot of that
God.
learning is on me.
Yeah.
Because I'm such a control freak and I have, and I know I own up to it, right? So learning to let go, learning
Mhm.
to trust that they know what they're doing and they're much younger than me so they can connect with that younger generation social media stuff. So I'm finally doing it.
Thank
So I
God.
have two great girls on board that I'm really happy about, and me always about supporting South Asians, so they're both South Asians, and and also just to really understand our community like there. So
They
I'm
have to
very
be
excited.
South Asian because of that, right, sweetheart?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, and
absolutely.
another project I forgot to tell you about, Raj, that I
Yeah.
am super excited about is the Valley at Walt Disney World. We did that last
Oh my
year.
gosh, you did. It was such a massive success.
It was such a massive success, and I was like, wait, so we're working on that. So that is Veterans Day weekend in Orlando. It's a 3-day Diwali dance fest. And we're partnered with Manit Johan, who has a restaurant in at one of the Disney parks, Shobha Narayan, who was Princess Jasmine on Aladdin. She's the
Yeah.
host, such a beautiful fit. The Sad Dance Company from the West Coast is going to be performing. So it's shaping out to be incredible.
Oh my God,
And
I
that's
can't
going to be
wait.
at
And
Animal Kingdom.
how can people, from the general public get involved with that? Tickets, and are there any special packages? Where can we send them?
There's a website called the Valley Dance Fest.
Yeah.
And that's where all of the information is. If you're in the Orlando area, the parade is free. It's at Disney Springs. That's free for everyone to attend. It was beautiful. There's 400 kids from around the country that all learned on Zoom and performed this so seamlessly in beautiful, bright costumes and their hair and makeup
Wow.
and from ages, I don't even know, like 7 to 40, 50, like it was
Wow.
incredible, like
Yeah.
these big day. And then we had an after party last year at the Lion King Theater. I'm like, it was surreal. It was absolutely beautiful. So that is coming up in November, and I'm really excited about that.
Oh my gosh. Like we're doing, like our community is doing this stuff now,
We're doing this
Neerja.
stuff. I know. And it's
Yeah.
incredible to be like representing, our culture. I mean, it's so iconic. We're at Disney World. So yeah, that's a really cool event. I can't believe I almost forgot to talk about that one. And it's
Oh
one of
my
my
God.
favorites.
Yeah, it's such a big one. I want to ask you this as we kind of, we've had this conversation where we've kind of looked back over some touch points of your career. There's so much more. It's kind of like I feel like I need to bring you on again. So we're going to do this again next year. But, when you look back, what does success look like for you?
Um, I think I'm feeling it now with just all the love. It's really just it's so much love, and I'm so grateful, and I feel overwhelmed. I cry at everything. But
Oh, God bless, babe.
the messages that come my way, the repeat clients that come my way, the
Hmm.
recommendations from previous clients, just things like that. They're just small validations of success. Um, Brands that say, so and so found me because of this campaign. So just things like that. Again, it's never a bank balance. It's never the client roster. It's
Hmm.
always just all of the love and and the comments that are so rewarding.
Absolutely, sweetheart. So it's what gets us through the harder times, right? Is knowing
Exactly.
that you're actually doing something greater than yourself. right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you
And it's the
wish you
beautiful intro you just made,
Oh,
like it's, people saying you're a change maker and things like that, that I'm like, wow, like I have, done something to put our community on the map. So,
you definitely have, sweetheart. You'll definitely go down in the history of the renaissance of the South Asian community in North
oh my
America. That's
gosh.
definitely going to be there. Someone needs to write that book, I think.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So,
Maybe
sweetheart,
I
as we get,
will.
uh, maybe that's what you need to do because you've been on both sides, right? You've had access firsthand with media and PR and events and change makers and celebrities and thought leaders, people who are changing the way that we are going to be living our lives in the future. There's so many different types of people that you've worked with. What a great story that would be from your eye. I would
Maybe
support
one
that book.
day. It's a
Yeah,
good seed to have planted today, Raj. Maybe one
absolutely,
day.
sweetheart. So I want to ask you this as we get ready to close off. When you look back over your life, is there anything that you would have done differently? And if you would have done it differently, why would have you done it differently? How do you feel it could have benefited your life?
Wow. Work related or in general?
In general, I feel would be the question I'd like you to answer.
In general, I think it's a lot more about very internally, the things that I feel now are just, I wish I just had more patience in life.
Oh,
Just as a person, a personality, a business owner, a mom, a wife, like the amount of patience I lose that causes me anxiety, changes my behavior. So many years, anything that I go back to, it's like, well, I didn't handle these things right because I didn't, like, I don't have the patience. And so I am working on myself in a lot of ways now in terms of like just thinking through things. Maybe someone didn't mean it that way. Maybe my behavior could have been different. Maybe my response could have been different. And so I think just
right.
as I get older, it's a lot more self work. I didn't put in that time before. I mean, in everything, in like health, mental health and things
Yeah.
like that. And I wish I had. I really wish, at that time when you're younger and your parents say it, you're like, what is this nonsense?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And now I sound like my parents when I say it to my kids that these things are like unhealthy for you, right? The amount you spend on social media, the crap you put into your bodies in terms of bad food, like all
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. The friends you hang out with, all that kind of stuff. I know I sound like my parents when I tell my kids, but I'm like, I wish I had listened. Because anything that I wish I changed in my life back then is all around that.
So but this is the magic, right, sweetheart? It's usually at this point in our lives when we have done multiple, roles as a person, are we able to actually look back at all the things that worked, all the things that we're still working through, all the things that we totally haven't even given attention to that perhaps is causing anxiety and the mental issues that the world is wrought with today,
Oh my
right?
gosh.
Is that, we keep consuming everything and we're not removing anything. Like the
Yes.
flow isn't happening, right?
Yes.
And I feel that that's what you're talking about here.
Mm-hmm. It is exactly. And it's just, we just didn't take this stuff seriously. And now, the whole saying older and wiser, that's how I feel that's where I am.
I love it. So let me ask you this, because you know that we have to ask you this question. As a woman of color, what are some advantages that you've experienced along your journey? Because we already know the long list of challenges that
Mm-hmm.
that we have experienced, right? I want to not talk about that with you. I want to talk about the advantages that you've felt being South Asian and being a woman.
Um, I think there have been great advantages, especially as the world is taking more, notice of DEI. I mean, we have a woman of color running for president. So, I mean, how incredible is that? And so I think that there have been a lot of advantages. I think there was a little period in time where like I don't want to be that token brown person, right?
Yeah.
First, it was that we weren't heard, and then it was like we were the token brown person. But now I feel like people really value the diversity, right? They
Yes.
want that different opinion, that different background. So I don't know how many advantages I've had for, a lot of times in the first 10 years, but the last 5, I would say people are like, oh, you're coming to us with a completely different perspective from your upbringing and, your culture and your views. And they want to like hear about it. Right.
Oh my
So
gosh, I love that.
I'm taking full advantage,
Yeah,
you
that's my
know?
girl, as we should.
So
As we should, sweetheart.
as we
Absolutely.
should.
And that's the thing, right? In my mind, you know, I've spent so many of my years because of, I mean, I'm 54, right? So like a lot of my years have been spent on the other side,
Right.
all the things that are the disadvantage, because that's just what is taught
Hmm.
by, that was what was taught by mainstream society. You don't fit in, you're not valuable. Also taught by our culture that if you veer away from the culture and become too mainstream, that's not a good thing. So a lot of confusion in a lot of the years that I feel our kids hopefully won't have, because they are proud, they are brown and proud, but they're also not feeling like they're different from mainstream society. I feel that's the big thing. We live two people, they're living one.
Right. Right. And you know what's crazy is there are some times where I say like, oh my God, isn't it so cool that this is happening or that Kamala Harris is the vice president? And they're kind of like, oh, well, what's the big deal? Right. And I'm like, well,
Ah,
that's actually great. That's
yes.
actually great that they think that's so normal. In my mind, I'm like, wait, that is a big deal. And why aren't they agreeing how big of a deal it is? And I'm like, the fact that they're not is actually the best answer, you know?
Absolutely. I
And
couldn't have said it
so
better myself, babe. You're absolutely correct.
yeah, like to me, I'm just like, this is what we've worked so hard for. Like, I know how cool that is because I know how, how long it's taken for us to get here. But for them, they're
Yeah.
like, oh, so and so is the lead in this movie and she's brown. Like they're like, well, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
So I love that. I love
Yeah.
when they think it's so normal.
Absolutely. And so, sweetheart, while we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you just to kind of, is there anything that we haven't talked about? Is there anything that you want to share as we kind of wrap up with
I want to
everyone?
say thank you that you were so kind to ask me for this interview. I absolutely love you. And
I feel the
there
same
have
way,
been
babe.
some things in my life that have meant so much. And when you invited me to the ANOKHI, was it the 15 year, the 10 year? I don't even know which one it was. And it like those type of things all stick to me that there were not a lot of invitations to big events back then. There was not a seat at
Mhm.
the table. And those people that saw me and gave me a chance, um, I hold very close to my heart. And you
Oh,
are definitely
sweetheart.
one of them. And
Oh,
so
sweetheart. I love
no,
you so
I
much.
I mean it. I have seen Anoki grow and be such a game changer and a staple in our community. So I'm so proud of you and so happy to be in your orbit. And so thank you so much
Oh my
for
God, I love you
asking
so
me.
much, sweetheart. And we have a long history together. And I feel a big part of that history is because we have a very aligned value system,
We
sweetheart.
do.
That's the big
We
thing
do.
here that I want to
Hmm.
make sure people understand. We can work together, we can do great things. And, collaboration always over competition, right? I know that this
Always.
is right.
Always. And I
Yeah.
think that, we are like, the big sign of women supporting women,
Yeah.
it's really important. I mean, me in my 40s, like I see it. I see when people don't support or people, and I know, again, I keep saying it, how it makes me feel, and I don't want to do that to anyone. So
Yeah.
it's important to support one another, support your community, your kind, support, where you can. Why not?
Absolutely, sweetheart. And I want to kind of close off by asking everyone to you know, go hang out with Neerja. She is such a
Come hang out
cool
with
person.
me.
She's such a cool person. She's doing really game-changing things. She is doing so many things to support and elevate our community and empower our community for them to be able to do the wonderful things they do and to value the things that people are doing in our community, which is a big part of, you know, what you do with Neerja PR. Neerja, one more time, how can people go hang out with you on social media? Do you have a newsletter? You know, give us everything.
My Instagram. I have a personal Instagram, which is PATEL Neerja. I have my business account, which is Neerja PR, which is all work. But if you want to get to know me, then the PATEL Neerja one is the best. I'm on LinkedIn. My email is there. Again, I am very approachable. If there's things that I can help you with, you know, just advice wise, I'm happy to share my time. And if there is anything work wise to help build your company, I am always available.
Oh my gosh. And I can attest to that. I mean, I love this woman. She's the real deal. And just I'm just so thankful that you came and shared just a snippet of your incredible journey, Neerja. You are definitely a woman to admire and to follow. Your resilience, your support, your strength, your business acumen, and then not giving up who you are as a woman and stepping back into what that needs to mean for your peace of mind is a testament to just truly how fucking awesome you are. I'm sorry I said the F word, but it's just I don't know how else to say how much I admire you, how much I respect you. I'm honored to be
I
a part of
feel the
your
same way.
you know, your internal ecosystem. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your incredible story. I really know that it's going to inspire a lot of people to step out and just do the thing. You know, just do the thing.
Do the thing. Thank you so much, Raj. Thank you everyone for listening. I'm so grateful. I love you.
I love you too, my darling. And I will see all of you guys next time on ANOKHI Uncensored. Stay connected with us on ANOKHI Lifestyle. And don't forget to sign up for our weekly newsletter at anokhilife.com. You guys know that, you know, we know that you have such a busy life. You can't always know what's going on. If you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get it in your inbox once a week and you will not have to worry about missing. There's no FOMO here. Just go hop on over and do that. Go hang out with us in our world. We are here to support you. It's why we do what we do. I look forward to seeing you next week. Please have a really, really good rest of your week and loads of love to you and your family. Thank you for tuning in.